Dear participants, welcome to this session talking about professional higher vocational education in ICT, which is known in ITC3 context as Ifip Working Group 3.4. And we have done some huge work for investigating what we have done in the last 40, 50 years, while last year in WCCE 2021, we had a symposium of the 50 years of Ifip Working Group 3.4. We were happy to have also former chairs and other 3.4ers there in the symposium. And after that, we decided with Artur Datnal and Barry Thompson and me that we will also try to say something in the WCCE 2022. And that's we are very happy about. We could manage this, and this will also some historical turnaround points in a way in our development. In the study we did, we had actually 406 papers from 178 institutes from 51 countries, and 3.4 as a small group in the beginning has actually grown now quite a large community. First, it was divided in two groups, 3.4 and 3.7. 3.7 was more on educational management and IT. And then later on, 2014, we also got a 3.2, which was closed, 3.2 working group, which was higher education, university context, was merged to 3.4. And now I would like to ask Artur Datnal to tell us something about this process, which was laborious and based on this historical view. So please, Artur.
Thanks, Mika. Well, just to recap slightly, the International Federation for Information Processing, Ifip, has 13 technical committees, of which Technical Committee TC3, Education, is one. Each technical committee has several working groups. TC3 presently has 4 working groups. WG3.1, Informatics and Digital Technology in School Education. WG3.3, Research into Educational Applications of Information Technologies. 3.4, Professional and Vocational Education in ICT. And WG3.7, Information Technologies and Educational Management. The reason the numbers have some gaps is there were some more working groups at one stage. Our paper relates to the history of Ifip WG 3.4, Professional and Vocational Education in ICT, and its conference activities. Now, technically, what we've done is curriculum history. That's our methodology. We're here speaking only of WG 3.4 conferences and not the path of the working group has played in other Ifip conferences, including WCCE, as you know, World Conference on Computers and Education, and WCC, the Ifip World Computer Congress. We are not speaking of papers relating professional and higher and vocational education that are presented as any part of these, or other Ifip conferences, even where these papers constituted a separate stream. So specifically, we're talking about WG 3.4 conferences. As mentioned, there have been 20 WG 3.4 conferences since 1984. These have been held in Australia, Czech Republic, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Hong Kong, Israel, Japan, Norway, Singapore, Tanzania, the Netherlands, and Zimbabwe. So we've covered a fair bit of the world. The 404 papers came from researchers in 178 different research institutions in 51 different countries. Many of the papers in the early days of WG 3.4 working conferences involved the development of courses for learning as a tool to a mythology for educational users. But today, Ifip education, ICT education, is necessarily a part of business strategy and organisational development of the WG34 conferences have reflected of this change, which I think Barry will say more about shortly. This paper contains a large amount of data on the location of our conferences since 1984. We haven't been able to locate records of the earlier ones, unfortunately. The type of papers published by their titles, the countries that the authors came from. To collect the data involves some considerable effort. While all the conferences have had a printed book or proceedings of some sort, only for the more recent conferences have these been easy to locate. Since Springer took over as publisher, all the conference books have become available to download through the Springer Link website. Anyone can do that. A number of the earlier papers can also be downloaded from the Ifip website under the section titled Publications. For the earlier conferences, this was not so straightforward, but Google Scholar and other publishers' websites provided some assistance. The other way we obtained this data was from records held by two of the former WG34 chairs, Ben Ziombata and Peter Joliffe, who had some of the information. A Tampere University Library specialist, I hope I pronounced his name right, Yanni Nieminen, also provided very valuable assistance in locating and categorising some of the papers. Developing and maintaining this history is important, not just for history's sake, but more importantly, to see how discussion and research in the field of professional and vocational education at ICT has changed and developed over the years. I'll hand over now to Barry Thompson.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. And now Barry will tell some of the findings we see from this whole evolution of the working group conferences. Please, Barry.
Okay, right. What I think is, in carrying out the research and the production of the paper, what's become clear is the wide range of topics that's been covered by these Working Group 3.4 conferences. For example, we've covered areas such as software and tools right through to human issues. I think also what should be noted is how forward-looking many of these conferences have been, and I'll give you 3 examples. In 1993, the working group addressed software engineering education. This was 11 years before the first international software engineering undergraduate undergraduate curricula was published, and that was produced by the ACM and IEEE Computer Society. Then in 2003, the Working Conference in Pori addressed e-learning, leading edge at the time, but now commonplace. And finally, in 2009, the Working Group Conference in Arnhem addressed issues to do with global professionalism. It was then a further 12 years before Ifip itself published its Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. I think these 3 examples show how the working group has been so forward-looking, and if you like, the rest of the world has followed it.
Okay, thank you, Barry. So can we say that we were, in a way, pioneering some and raising some?
Definitely pioneering.
Yes.
Yeah, and this has always been, in a way, a very international group, people from all over the world, and seeing things which are happening in their countries and continents. So that has also created a nice atmosphere to work together.
I think the only continent we haven't covered is South America.
Yeah, but we have been in Brazil in the WCCE.
Yes,
so, yeah.
Yes. If we include
we ran side events there, I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, at least.
If we were to include WCCEs and the other conferences where we've had a presence, there would be a whole lot more. I mean, for instance, one of the Ifip World Computer Congresses, we had a stream of papers on this topic.
Yeah, and many of these things which happens now, like digitalization and sustainability issues and professionalism, they have been there under discussion for many years in our working group activities. Okay, this is our message to the WCC participants, and we will continue this discussion in the conference on site. Hopefully I can get there. It's a long trip from Finland.
When do you leave?
Tomorrow. Okay.
Good luck.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck, Nico. Have fun. Well, if that's, yeah.
See you.
Okay.